Hey there, Dr. Mark here, and in today's video, I'm gonna answer the question, can I drink alcohol and still lose weight? Plus give you the exact strategies for you to coach nutrition clients who want to enjoy a drink and still make progress. Starting with some strategies that can work well and ending with the best strategy I've developed over working with 2,000 plus clients over the last 10 years. Let's get into it. Here is the first thing that you need to know. The first thing that you need to be aware of is that if you're trying to lose weight, the calories that you consume are very important. And alcohol itself has calories, approximately 7 calories for every gram, which means for every shot or ounce of alcohol, you're gonna be consuming around 80 calories. So this can really impact your ability to lose weight because all those calories add up. And unlike other sources of calories, the calories from alcohol aren't very filling. But does this mean that you can't lose weight drinking alcohol? Here's the deal. Your body can't store alcohol like fatty acids in your fat tissue or glucose in your liver or muscles. And since the byproduct of alcohol metabolism, acetaldehyde, is toxic, removing it takes precedence over everything else. Toxic, ooh, sounds a little scary. It isn't really. But your body is smart, and because of this, whenever you drink, your body is going to stop burning fat and burn the alcohol for fuel. And to a much lesser extent, stops burning carbohydrate and protein for fuel as well. Which would make you think, well, if it stops burning fat, I can't really lose weight while I'm drinking, can I? No, you won't lose weight while drinking, but you can get leaner even if you consume alcohol. Your body is very capable of processing alcohol, and even though it's gonna suppress burning other forms of fuel, it doesn't magically make you fat. If you do gain fat, it's because it pushes you into a calorie surplus. So don't just blame it on the alcohol. It's not all alcohol's fault, but you still need to be smart because drinking can lower your inhibitions, making it much more likely that you'll overeat on food that you typically wouldn't consume. You know, pub food, late night McDonald's, stuff like that. And if you drink so much that you don't move around much the next day, obviously that's going to impact things. And if you're up all night tossing and turning, your sleep is going to be impacted. So you have to think about some of the practical impacts of drinking. But now you might be thinking, I've heard that drinking impacts my hormones. What's the deal with that? In the short term, drinking alcohol can impact your insulin sensitivity, your cortisol levels, your growth hormone, as well as some sex-specific hormones. But generally, these are just acute changes in the short term and don't have any real meaningful impact over the long term. Now, if you're drinking so much that it would be considered chronic, that will become problematic, but generally most health-focused people, they know their limits. For the most part, you can lose weight while drinking alcohol, but you need to be smart about it. So here's what you need to do. Okay, so we got some alcohol options here, and we're gonna go over some good, better, best options, especially when it comes to calories and added sugar. For the most part, if you're trying to be mindful of calories, some of the things that you want to focus on is going to be some of the lower calorie options. For the most part, drier wines, drier red and white wines, like a Cabernet Sauvignon for a red or a Sauvignon Blanc for a white or Pinot Grigio. Typically, those are going to have lower sugar content. For most like 6-ounce glasses of those type of wine, you're going to be around 120 to 140 calories with 4 to 5 grams of additional carbohydrates. So the rest of the calories will come from alcohol. One of your lowest calorie options is going to be clear spirits like this Bacardi rum here, or even some vodka mixed with a low calorie or 0 calorie mixer like soda water or diet pop or diet Coke or diet Sprite, something along those lines that won't add any additional calories, and you would just be consuming the alcohol from the alcohol. So it'd be around 80 calories for every ounce that you add in. You also see that I got a speed spout here on the vodka. So, I mean, that's maybe a bit of an issue. Typically seltzers and light beers are also going to be lower on the calorie side. A lot of these like hard seltzers are going to have around 5% alcohol. So they contain quite a bit of alcohol, but not a lot of additional calories coming from carbohydrate. Light beer is going to be around 4 to 5 grams of carbohydrate, but you can find some that are less, like the Michelob Ultra, for example, is going to have slightly less calories, around 90 calories and less carbohydrate as well. As we move up, more like conventional beers and craft beers are typically going to have more alcohol, some more calories coming from the actual alcohol, as well as more carbohydrates. So if you think about like conventional domestic beers, they're going to be closer to 15, 16 grams of carbohydrate. And at 5% alcohol, we're starting to talk about 160 to 200 calories per beer. Obviously, over the last 10 years, craft beers or microbreweries have, exploded with different, variations of beer. Typically, they're higher in alcohol. They taste a lot better. They taste more like beer in actual beer, but they're going to have more calories coming from the alcohol. Beers like sours, for example, are going to be higher in carbohydrate as well. Some of those sours are going to have more carbohydrate in them as well, just to be a little bit sweeter. And moving on to other things like, ciders that, for example, obviously those are quite sweet, have quite a bit of alcohol in them as well. So quite a higher calorie choice. So in most cases, when we're thinking about what do we work in here, we want to choose some of the lower calorie options much more often. There's going to be some middle of the road options that we probably choose a little bit less. And if we're really serious about our weight loss goals, we're going to stay away from some of those higher alcohol beer and sweeter wines and ciders most of the time. Okay, so awareness around what you're drinking and how many calories it contains is smart. It's going to be helpful, but it's still not perfect. And what's going to be better is going into social situations with some sort of plan. You need to remember that weight loss is all about compromise. So if you're an adult with goals, you need to find some balance. And remember, there's always a time and a place. The context of this is super important. There's going to be a time to work some drinks into your plan and let loose a little bit, where there's other times where you just want to be celebrating and not focusing on this stuff at all. But weight loss is all about compromise, so you need to be aware of that dynamic. For most of my nutrition clients, the ones that see the most success, they don't swear off alcohol, but they go into social situations with a plan. For many of them, that means filling me in on what's going on in their social lives. Do they have a vacation coming up or a birthday party? What do we need to plan for? And if you anticipate wanting to drink and wanting to have a few drinks, what does that look like for you? Is it 1 to 2? Is it 3 to 4? We need to come up with some sort of plan. Also, it's important to set up some non-negotiables. So if there's tons of food around in the social situation, stuff that you would typically rather eat or you'll grab for, you need to have a plan for that as well. That could look like having a few drinks and having some of the food, or just focusing on the food and knowing that in your non-negotiables, the food is more important than the actual alcohol is. So you're going to avoid that for right now. Again, there's always a time and a place, but if you're serious about your weight loss goals, this would be the time to focus and go into these situations with some sort of plan. It doesn't need to be forever, but for the interim, this is really, really helpful. But also in the last 5 years, there's been a huge explosion in non-alcoholic beverages. So if you're someone that likes the taste of drinking, the social aspect, you enjoy spirits or cocktails, there's a lot of things that you can do to work an alcohol type drink into your plan without blowing your calorie budget. Okay, so one thing you may not have considered for either yourself or for your clients are some non-alcoholic beverages.
You want a beer, pal?
What are you drinking?
I got this non-alcoholic.
What's that?
It's like a non-alcoholic beer. It's got no alcohol.
It's a beer?
Yeah, with no alcohol.
But you drink enough, and if you drink a lot, they get you.
No, there's no alcohol. That's the point.
I'm not a scientist. I'm talking about. I can get you beer if you want.
No, but I don't drink. You remember? I don't drink anymore.
Oh, you want to go inside and blow some lines of baking powder?
When you go to a restaurant, maybe the actual menu is going to have some mocktails on the menu, no alcohol. A lot of the times those are going to be, fancier style drinks that have additional sugar, but there's some options that are going to be lower calorie as well. But for a lot of these actual, non-alcoholic beverages that you could buy and drink at home, we're going to have de-alcoholized wine here, both white and red variety. A lot of times this market, in terms of these type of beverages, it's exploded. There's a lot more options than there used to be. This is actually non-alcoholic whiskey. Yes, I said that right. This is whiskey. I honestly, if I'm being completely honest, I don't know what's in it. It has some tasting notes. I'm not sure it isn't just barrel water, but I've tried it. It tastes pretty good and similar to the real thing. And these are some of the things that you can, if you enjoy the social aspects of drinking and want to make some cocktails that taste pretty similar but are lower on calories, this is something you can work in. Over time, it's been around for a longer period of time. We also have the non-alcoholic beers. Of all of them that I've tried, the Heineken seems to be the best in terms of like the more generic beer options or more well-established ones. But craft breweries have come out with a lot of options that have non-alcohol, as well as stuff like kombucha and that type of thing. So maybe you haven't considered this stuff, but I've been working more of these in and enjoying it, feeling better the next day, as well as saving on calories. So these are just good health-focused options with no calories, or sorry, with no alcohol, you would just have the calories coming from some of the sugar that is going to be contained in the beverage. Now, if you're truly serious about your weight loss goals, the best way to lose weight and manage your nutrition is going to be tracking towards some sort of calorie and macronutrient target. Now, tracking makes it even easier to drink because when you do have some alcoholic beverages, you can work it into your plan and still lose weight. When you do this, you're all but guaranteed to stay within your calories and lose weight, but you need to do it in a special way. For alcohol, since alcohol will have calories that aren't going to be included in your conventional macronutrient targets, you need to displace them out some other way. When you log a drink, for example, a light beer, there's going to be some carbohydrates that are included in the nutritional information, and those will go towards your targets. But the remaining alcohol calories still need to be accounted for. Remember, your macro targets are set based on a calorie goal. So if you log an alcoholic beverage and it has some alcohol calories, it'll add to the calories. But if you're still tracking your macronutrients, you're going to go over and therefore be in a calorie surplus, which is obviously going to impact your results. So it's not what you want to do. And here's the best strategy for that. The best way to do this is to account for the extra alcohol calories in your carb or fat targets. In most cases, we don't want to take this from our actual protein targets because we'll be less full throughout the day, making us more prone to overeating, as well as it could impact your lean muscle mass on a calorie deficit. So take from the carb and fat targets. And essentially you're removing 1 gram of carbohydrate for 4 calories or 1 gram of fat for every 9 calories. So for example, going back to our light beer example, a light beer typically has around 120 calories and 4 to 5 grams of carbohydrates. Of those 4 to 5 grams of carbohydrates, there's going to be around 20 calories that are already accounted for in the nutrition information. So you have 20 calories that are already accounted for, but you have the remaining 100 calories that you need to do something with. So for every light beer, you could take off 25 grams of carbohydrates from your target, which means 25 times 4 equals 100, or do the same thing for fat. Or for fat, you'd be taking off approximately 11 grams of fat from your targets. We take that 11 times 9 for right around 100 calories. You could also do some combination of both for the drinks that you're going to work in, but for practical purposes, it's usually easy to take from one or the other. It doesn't need to be perfect, but this balancing act will keep you on track and will produce better results than just being mindful or aware of your calories within the drinks that you're consuming. This is something that I work into a client's weight loss plan every so often just to keep things balanced and sustainable. And then they can move forward with the same targets the next day, just getting right back to it. Now, I hope that answers the question, can I drink alcohol and still lose weight? Now, as great as all those tips are, if you're really serious about starting a nutrition coaching business, the next thing I'll have you do is check out this video I've linked up right here. Today, we learned about drinking alcohol and weight loss. The next thing we're gonna learn about is injectable weight loss medications. So make sure to check it out now, and I'll see you in the next video.